My name's Alex, and 3 years ago I went skiing for the first time. I was terrible, completely unbalanced and constantly falling over. However, I was determined to improve. This was tricky though because we don't have any skiing opportunities where I live in England, apart from an indoor place where they make artificial snow. I went to this place a few times throughout the year to practice, but it didn't compare to being in the mountains. So 1 year after my first skiing experience, I drove out to the Austrian Alps again. I skied for about 5 days, and I did make some improvement. However, my trip felt too short. I wanted to find a way to spend more time in the mountains, and this is when I decided to do a ski season. My plan was to find a job within a popular ski area so I could fully embrace life in the mountains for a whole winter season. I applied for many different jobs all over the world in all the mountainous ski areas. The response rate though was rather underwhelming. It was likely due to the fact I had never worked in hospitality before and my CV didn't exactly look that great. However, I persevered and hoped that somehow I would slip through a gap and land myself a winter job. I mostly applied for jobs on the site called Indeed, and I also sent lots of emails directly to lodges and hotels and stuff asking me if they needed anyone to work. However, it was actually for a site called Workaway where I eventually had some luck. A few days after a short video call interview, I was offered a job working at a lodge in the Japanese Alps. I accepted the offer and started preparing for the trip. First, I had to get myself a visa to legally work in Japan. I just got my visa picture taken in this little studio that I found in town. I'm going to go to the Japanese embassy next week and submit my application, and hopefully they like the picture and let me in. Thank you.
As for you?
Tomorrow I have got a meeting at the Japanese embassy in London. You actually have to book up an in-person application. This working holiday visa that I'm applying for, which lasts for up to a year, has taken actually more time than I expected it to. I've got a checklist here that I'm just going through just to make sure I've got everything. You need a valid UK passport. I've got that. A completed visa form, which I've just spent the last half an hour filling out. That was probably the least time consuming part of it all. I just stuck a picture of my face at the top. That's about it. Just telling them that I haven't committed any crimes and I'm a good person that they would want to have in Japan. CV. I just made a new Word document and wrote down my education, the grades I got at school. Next up was a document which outlines all the intended activities that I'm doing. This is just an A4 sheet showing month by month what I'm going to be getting up to. And then also I need to prove that I have enough funds for when I'm over there. And I can do this with just some bank statements. And I think that is everything I need to get my visa. I'm going to be so disappointed if they turn me down because I've spent all afternoon and evening on this. Anyway, let's gather up all my papers and get on a train tomorrow up to London and go to the Japanese embassy. I feel like I've been productive. So I gave my papers to the person at the counter, and after one look at it, they turned me away and said, "Sorry, your application isn't valid." I had initially on my application said that I would be coming to Japan for 3 months, and it turns out that you have to actually say that you're coming for 12 months, even though I didn't intend on staying that long. So I went back to the waiting room, rewrote my application, and then I had to write a 12-month itinerary list, basically quite a detailed plan of what I would do in Japan for the next 12 months, even though I didn't intend on staying that long. But finally, once I had all the new papers written up, I went back to the counter and thankfully they took it in this time. And now all I had to do was wait. That's so much of a relief. I was so worried that I wouldn't get the visa, but I've received my passport back with the visa inside, which means I can stay in Japan for 1 whole year. Christmas has come early. So over the past few weeks I've been getting ready for my trip to Japan, and this is the thing I'm most excited about. In here are some skis. Now it was quite hard to know what skis to buy because there's obviously so many different types. However, I have gone for an all-mountain ski. Basically what it means is the ski isn't too thin or too wide. It's like an in-between width. When you're skiing on powdery snow, you want to use wider skis so you float above it, and when you're on a piste you want to use like thinner skis. Would you look at that? I think this particular model was made like 5-6 years ago. These are the bindings. The boot goes into here, and on the ski it says 130, 91, 120. What that means is it's 130 mil across there. It is 91 across there, and here it is 120. And they are 174 centimeters long. Basically, if you're not very good at skiing like me, you use like shorter skis. They're easier to move around. If I stand them up to my head, they come up to about my nose, which I've heard is a decent length if you are a beginner like me. I'm not a beginner anymore. I've been skiing a few times. No, I'm still a beginner. Travelling to Tokyo took 15 hours in total. The first 10-hour plane ride took me from London to Shanghai, and then a shorter 3-hour flight brought me to Tokyo, with distant views of snow-capped Mount Fuji out the window. Unlike England, where you can just travel with your contactless bank card or mobile phone, you actually have to get an IC card and then top it up with cash. But once this was sorted, I hopped on the Kensai Express train, which took me from the airport into central Tokyo. Luckily, with Google Translate and maps on my side, I managed to successfully trundle across the city to my accommodation. I've just caught some kind of illness and I feel really rough, coughing and cold symptoms. I'm extremely tired, overwhelmed by everything. It's just very different. That's not very nice. I think I've got some learning to do when it comes to picking the right drink. I was expecting a cinnamon roll kind of thing, but no, it's like beef inside a steamed bun. Now, Tokyo is the largest city in the world with a population of around 37 million people, and I thought London was big, but this is a whole nother level. Although there was a lot of vehicle traffic, it also felt like a very pedestrian-friendly city too, with large zebra crossings, traffic lights, and also spacious walkways. And despite the massive amount of people, it was surprising how quiet the city was. I think they also use quiet road surfaces, and the drivers also tend not to use their car horns, so it was actually a reasonably peaceful place to be. I felt so out of place, so I clung on to everything that seemed somewhat recognisable from back home. There were a lot of very different things here, notably the vending machines, which were on every single corner, selling both hot and cold drinks. I've just learned my first bit of vocab in Japanese. That means buttocks. I watched a film recently called Perfect Days about a guy who cleans toilets in Tokyo. And every morning he's woken by the sound of a brush going across the street cleaning. And I went outside my hotel room and that's exactly what I heard. All over the place, people are just sweeping. And throughout my whole walk, everything was very clean. I often find it quite stressful when I go to a new place, especially when I know that my time there is limited. I want to do everything all at once, but I've got to accept that I can't do everything. I've eaten a lot of rice. From what I could see, ramen bars are popular places for the locals to pop into for a quick solo lunch during their workday. Food and drinks are quickly ordered on a machine near the entrance. You take a ticket, sit down, where the chef prepares you your bowl of noodles. In no more than 3 minutes, a hot bowl of ramen was in front of me, and the bowl of noodles was topped with a marinated soft-boiled egg, tender pork, and some green onions. My first ramen experience completed, and I very much enjoyed it. Now off to collapse in my bed at midday due to my severe case of jet lag. Whenever I travel to a new place, I tend to be drawn towards the green areas. What I mean by that is if there's a garden, like a botanic garden or some park, I'll normally go there. And near my accommodation in Shinjuku, I found this city garden. Whilst here in Tokyo it's about 17 degrees and sunny, I've just checked the webcams at the place that I am going. They've had loads of snow, and that has made me even more excited to get over there in a couple of days. Because if I didn't mention already, the plan in Hakuba is to hopefully do plenty of skiing. And to go skiing you need plenty of snow. It's still snowing like crazy. I survived 3 days in Tokyo. Quite proud of myself. Early the next morning, I got myself a train ticket and headed from Shinjuku to the west side of Japan. Now you can get the Shinkansen bullet train, and it will take maybe an hour and a half, although I decided to take the more scenic train, which took around 4 hours. On the train, I met a few other people who were also here to work for the winter season. I wasn't currently aware of just how popular this place was for snow sports. But after a bit of research, I learnt that Japan is one of the snowiest places in the world, and in one winter you can have over 10 meters of snowfall. I couldn't quite imagine what this amount of snow must be like, but over the next few months I was going to witness it for myself. I arrived in a village called Atari. It's a little outside the more populated town of Hakuba. This is where I met my new boss, my new colleagues, and got settled into my new home for the winter. For the next 3 months I would be working at this 7-room ski-in, ski-out lodge called Momiji. The lodge is not only a bed and breakfast, but also has a restaurant which is open 6 nights a week, and a bar. This was going to be a great chance to get some experience in several different aspects of hospitality work. The idea of running my own B&B one day in the future has been on my mind for a few years now, so I hoped I could learn a few things whilst working here. As you can see, they just received their first load of snow here, but the season doesn't officially start until the middle of December, and the first guests wouldn't arrive until the 21st. So the next 3 weeks would be spent training for the job and learning my way around the local area. Just having a little stroll on the first morning. It's beautiful. I couldn't think of a nicer place to spend the winter. Still full of cold, but this place and this view is sure cheering me up. Right, tree ID session. That looks like some kind of oak tree. The leaves are somewhat similar to English oak. There we have a beautiful pine. Don't know what that one is. I think that orangey looking one is a larch. some kind of larch tree.
I recognise that. I'm pretty sure that's a type of spruce tree. This is a sugi tree. And here, people are growing mushrooms. The logs are inoculated with spawn of the mushrooms and then they grow at certain times of year. And here are two of the lifts. I believe all these lifts are opening on the 15th of December. And we just need some more snow first. And the place I'm working is just there. Those big hills over there, where you can see the piece already made between the trees, that's Hakuba. I think that's Hapo One. But this is like a little village called Otari with like 2,000 people in it.
Inside the lodge, myself and 4 other workers shared a little dorm where we would live this winter.
Here is the communal space. Each one of us has our own food drawer. Everything we might possibly need. Cooker, heater, sink. Oh yes, we've got a rice cooker. Fireworks, as usual. Japanese toilet. It's even got a flushing sound. Quite minimal, quite small, but everything we need. The windows all boarded up, but out there, that's the view. Upstairs, bunk beds, and then this is my bedroom. This is the kitchen, and that is a big Napa cabbage. I grew some of these this year, but they were a lot smaller than that. I find kitchens, like commercial kitchens, fascinating. But this is like a giant dishwasher. All the cooking utensils, ovens, gas, freezers, fridges, all the ingredients. That is the kitchen. Hopefully I'll be doing some cooking here.
Although we didn't have much work to do during the first few days, it was still tiring, adapting to the time zone and also trying to make a good impression on all the new people I was meeting.
Give me your best.
At the front of the lodge, I noticed some persimmon fruit hanging from strings, and were in the process of being dried into what I think is called hoshigaki. It takes a couple of months or so for the fruits to dehydrate and become really sweet, but I was told it's quite traditional to do this here in Japan. When I arrived in Otari, I had to register at the local village hall, and a few days later I received 10,000 yen in gift certificates. And whilst trying to work out in what shops we could spend these vouchers in, myself and my colleague found a couple of really nice local shops that we ended up visiting regularly on our days off. Firstly, the local bakery that sold tasty bread and pastries, my favourite being this one with banana and chocolate. Interestingly, they also kept several buckets in their bakery with their pet fish. I think they were medaka, also known as Japanese rice fish.
Well, it turns out the fish has a name. It's Dimiki. Dimiki the fish. Hello. You can barely see it.
And the other beautiful place that we found was this coffee shop in the mountains across the valley that not only had amazing coffee and cake, but also an incredibly calming atmosphere that each time left me feeling so relaxed. I tried to visit this place as much as possible whilst living here. The work in early December consisted of a load of different odd jobs, picking up supplies from local shops, tidying and preparing the lodge ready for the first guests. And once the snowstorms came, we also had a ton of snow clearing to do, which at the beginning of the trip was a kind of fun and novel task. However, by the end, I'd had enough of it.
tools in the back. Clearing some ditches. What else have we been doing? That's about it. I've got loads of room at the top, just not much room around this area. My knees are halfway up the steering wheel. But it is a nice, easy vehicle to drive. And in the back, if you look, we've got a little pickup. Put loads of stuff in there. It's a great work truck.
Oh.
I'm at the local scrapyard, getting rid of a load of stuff. Well, that's my job for this afternoon. Wow. First day skiing in Japan, so I'm very excited to get to the slopes. So much snow on the road.
The first few days of skiing really humbled me. Learning to ski in more powdery conditions and on more bumpy slopes was like learning completely from scratch again.
Skiing in the powder is much harder to skiing like on the piste.
On my first day, I actually bumped into a guy called Tetsuo, who was kind enough to help me a little. He told me to keep my feet closer together as this helps float more on top of the snow. And also trying to lean forwards and down the hill rather than leaning too far back. This was also really important. The first few days were also made tricky due to the visibility being so bad. At times, the snow was so heavy and the wind was so strong, I could barely see a thing. These first days of skiing were spent in Hakuba and Sugaike, which were a short drive from home. But on the 15th of December, the lifts next to our lodge opened up and it allowed us to ski in and out of the lodge. I could simply walk out the front door, put the skis on and ski to the first lift. And when I was done for the day, I could ski back to the front door. It was incredible and totally a skier's paradise.
That was fun.
I've been staying at this lodge now for 3 weeks. No guests have arrived yet. It's been purely just training, learning where everything is, and settling in, doing odd jobs here and there, and getting the place ready for when customers arrive. And the first customers arrived today. And it is a little bit nerve-wracking when there's people who have paid for something and they're coming to enjoy a holiday. It certainly feels like there's a lot more pressure. It's actually happening. I'm working in a lodge with real life customers. But don't get me wrong, I'm very excited for it. Learning all about how a hotel, a lodge runs is exactly why I came here. Customers' bags have arrived. This is the check-in area where guests will come and do the paperwork and pay for things. And behind it is the kitchen. And the snow piles that have built up are huge. Just look at that. Absolutely stunning.
It doesn't feel that Christmassy here because the main religions are Buddhism and Shintoism, I think. But we have got a Christmas tree. It's gonna be my first time working behind a bar. I'll be honest, I've never done bartending before. But here I'm gonna hopefully learn more about that. It's all very exciting stuff. These are my work clothes. Dark trousers, some indoor slip-on shoes, and a nice brown shirt.
They just say that sometimes there can be an explosion from the hydrogen. This car is working, this one isn't. Let's see what happens. Oh my goodness, it's on. This is brutal weather. It's Christmas Eve. I have finally found 5 minutes of quiet time in the car. Just sent a letter home to my family to let them know that I'm still alive. Today and tomorrow I need to cook Christmas dinner for 28 people. Obviously with the help of other kitchen staff, but it's gonna be pretty stressful, I reckon. I've never cooked for that many people, so should be fun. Cooking Christmas dinner was pretty hectic. 5 large chickens were roasted, many kilograms of potatoes filled the ovens, and a load of fresh Yorkshire puddings were baked. There were 4 of us in the kitchen with a fully booked restaurant, and although it was stressful and super tiring, when customers tell you that they enjoyed the food, it really makes it all worth it. And after the shift was over, all the staff could dig into the leftovers, and we had a little Christmas celebration. It felt a little strange being away for Christmas time. Normally I'm at home with my family, but this year I was surrounded by people I'd only just met a few weeks before. But I was so busy working that I didn't really miss home too much. By the end of December, the lodge was pretty much full of guests. This time of year was the busiest, and now I understand why. The amount of snow falling was unreal. Every morning I would wake up to find another 30 or so centimeters of snowfall. This is perfect for skiing and snowboarding, but it makes most other things more tricky, especially getting around in the cars. If we'd had lots of snow overnight, we'd have to spend half an hour or so in the morning digging the cars out.
Can you spot the car?
You have to also be seriously careful when driving around. I lost count of how many cars that got stuck, and I learned that 2-wheel drive is pretty much pointless when there's heaps of snow on the road. Right, we're taking a big run up because we got stuck. And now we're hitting it. Oh, wow! You can do it, you can do it, you can do it! Yes, yes, yes! Sliding all over the place. Lovely job.
I was going up the ski lift and I noticed a nest. I think it's either a hornet's nest or a wasp nest. I don't think there's anything in there. I believe in the winter, the queen wasp or hornet will hibernate. So there's nothing in there at the moment. This is now the mountain that has been created next to the steps. Every day at the moment, I have to keep digging out the steps. There's about a metre high there. And there you can see even higher mountains of snow.
The snow was now piling up so high around the buildings, so removing snow from around the windows was quite important. Lots of windows were boarded up for this very reason.
Oh, Happy New Year, everyone. It's the 1st of January 2025, and it's the first day in a couple of weeks where it's not snowing. It's actually quite nice for a change to be able to see more than like 100 meters ahead of me. I would have loved to have gone skiing today, seeing as the conditions are so beautiful, but I went to bed quite late last night, so I was pretty tired, had a lie-in, and instead I've decided to go for a nice New Year's Day walk through the trees. I've been here 1 month, 2 more months to go, and I've been busier than I expected to be. Haven't had massive amounts of time to do much filming. Oh no, snow falling from the trees, but I've still gained so much already from this experience. I've learned so much about how a lodge is run. I've learned a lot about hospitality. I do have sort of ideas in the back of my head of maybe running my own B&B kind of thing one day, and I've learned so much that will help contribute to that in the future. So it's been a very positive experience so far. Happy New Year. Let's hope this is a good one.
Work shifts were either from 6 AM till 3 PM or 2 PM till 11 PM. The morning shift firstly would consist of cooking a buffet breakfast. I spent a lot of time behind the burners, frying bacon and eggs and all that sort of thing. And I also got lots of practice with making fresh bread. As most of the customers were out skiing during the day, it meant that we could spend the rest of the shift cleaning the lodge. Toilets were cleaned daily, each room would have a quick service, and we also had to clean the hot baths downstairs. These hot baths were a real nice touch to the lodge and the perfect way to relax after a long day outside. During the middle of the day, we'd often be collecting new guests or dropping off guests to the local station, and getting out in the car was a nice way to break up the day. Afternoon and evening shifts would include prepping dinner, working behind the bar, and waitering. I really enjoyed working alongside my boss, who was an excellent chef, and her ability to create a new menu every day of the week was really impressive. The food served in the restaurant was a real mix of Japanese cuisine inspired by the chef's hometown, as well as fusion dishes from all over the world. But the thing that was consistent throughout all the food was balanced sweet, salty and sour flavours, crunchy textures and unique presentation. I was mostly working as a line cook, chopping ingredients and helping put dishes together. But one thing I was given more responsibility with was the desserts. Over the course of the winter, I learned how to make custards, cakes, and lots of other sweet things that seemed to go down well with the guests. Well, today I learned how to make chocolate mousse. This is going to be the dessert in the restaurant tonight. You whip the cream so it goes really nice and airy and fluffy, and then you mix in melted chocolate. And then cocoa powder just sprinkled over the whole top. Luckily there was one spare, which is mine. The snow is still falling outside, and I just baked this evening's dessert for the restaurant. Today it's baked custard. There's going to be 16 people eating, so I made 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. So 2 spare in case one of them falls on the floor. In case I accidentally eat a couple of them. Beer! Beer in the cellar. With the early starts and late nights, it was really tiring work, especially when I tried to cram in a load of skiing between the shifts. Being able to ski right from the lodge always tempted me out, and I tried to ski in every bit of spare time I had, and I really felt some improvement over the coming weeks, especially skiing in the powder. I was falling less and managing to stay balanced on the steeper, more bumpy terrain. And I hoped that by the end of the winter I'd be able to have the confidence to ski down some of the steep tree runs.
Too much fun.
Over the course of the winter season, myself and my other colleagues didn't have many days off together, but when we did, we'd often explore the surrounding cities. It was quite nice to drive out of the mountains and have a little break from the snow for a bit. Matsumoto is known for its impressive castle, built in the 1500s. We actually went inside and walked up to the top where there were amazing views of the surrounding area.
That's 4 or 5 meters of snow. That's a car. Whoa.
It took a good few weeks for the persimmon fruit to dry out, but when they did, they tasted so sweet, almost like candy. When much of the water is removed, the flavours and the sweetness are all condensed down into the dried fruit. I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to try it here in England at some point. But anyway, once we finished eating the fruit, I took a couple of the persimmon seeds, popped them in some tissue paper with some water, and I put them on my windowsill to see if they would grow.
Just picked up some milk from the cow. Now we're walking back to the lodge. Oh! That's a loud bird. This is the view outside my window, and I've got my little persimmon plants. I don't know what I'm going to do with them when I leave. Maybe I give them to the owner of this place. But it's been fun watching them grow. I'm waiting for this one to create leaves. Yeah, it's a beautiful day out there.
One of my favourite things about working at the lodge was meeting all the guests. People had travelled from all over the world to be here, and everyone had so many interesting different stories. Obviously, when working in hospitality, you do have some guests who are difficult, but most people were super kind, and it was so great to get to know them, even if it was only for a few days. And what I absolutely loved was working as part of a team. For the past few years, I've been making videos as my job, which is all done in my home office on my own. It's a very solitary job, and I never realised how much I would enjoy working with other people. It made me more motivated, it felt more exciting to go into work, and it was just so great to work with other people. That's definitely something I took away from this experience. These were my original skis that I got off eBay. 175 centimeters long, 91 centimeter mid-width. But then a guest at the lodge left behind these skis. And I went to the shop, bought some new bindings. These are slightly longer, 180 centimeter, and slightly wider. So they are better for the powdery snow. On the sunny days, I'd normally stay on the pistes, as the off-piste areas would become super bumpy and icy, and I found it so tricky to ski on that sort of terrain. But after a night of loads of fresh snow, myself and my colleague decided to go down between the avalanche barriers. This was definitely pushing my limits, but it felt like I had to give it a go. Be careful. That's a big drop. Oh. After getting down the mountain, I once again fell in love with skiing. Its ability to completely clear the mind and allow you to focus completely on the present is, I think, why myself and so many others venture to the mountains each winter. It's so cool being able to say that I've skied down those trees. The sun is out, it's been a beautiful day today. It's been pretty warm. I think it's like 15 degrees C out there. So the snow is melting quite rapidly. It definitely feels like spring. The birds are chattering and making their nice spring noises. And I'm only here for another week or two. 1 week of work left. I'm so glad I've done this ski season this winter. I couldn't really have thought of a better way to spend the winter time. Of course, I have missed my family and friends back home. That's probably the biggest downside to being away all winter. But the amazing time that I've had here and all the things that I've learned and the people I've met have really made it a worthwhile experience. Would definitely recommend it if you like skiing, if you like being in the mountains. Skiing between the trees in the deep powder was a real challenge for me. You have to be so quick with making turns in order to dodge the trees. But I also realised that the faster you go in the powder, the easier it is to turn the skis and also float on top of the snow. And so you have to find the right balance where you're going fast enough to make turns easily, but not too fast so you just crash into trees.
Whoa!
Although there's still an enormous amount to learn and so much to improve on, when I now compare the first video clips of me skiing a few years ago to the ones I have from this trip to Japan, I feel pretty satisfied about the progress that I've made. Oh,
Very nice.
wow, that was so cool. The snow has turned not very nice. It's hard, icy, it's all melting. The birds are tweeting, finally spring. The last guests of the season walked out the lodge doors, and to celebrate the end of the season, we had a staff trip to the sea, where we stayed in a really nice hotel and relaxed for a couple of days. I want to say a massive thank you to both of my bosses who gave me this opportunity and made it such an enjoyable time. Woo, it's like we're on top of the world. 3.5 months have never passed so quick, and I can quite honestly say that this was the best winter I've ever had. Yes, the skiing was fun and I definitely made some good improvements, which I'm quite happy about, but the trip was made complete by all the wonderful people I had the pleasure of working with. I learned so much and went back home to England feeling massively inspired. The idea of running my own lodge in the mountains one day is now definitely something I'm working towards. Anyway, thanks so much for watching my little video. I'll see you soon.